HOA accused me of zoning violations. I proved exemption in court and got their lawyers sanctioned. Have you ever been cornered by someone who thinks they hold all the power, only to realize they've underestimated you? That's exactly what happened when my neighborhood's HOA, led by the infamous Karen Whitaker, decided to make my life a living nightmare over a tiny garden shed. What they didn't expect was that I'd fight back, expose their lies, and turn their own rules against them in a courtroom showdown that left them scrambling. It all started innocently enough. I'd moved into Willow Creek, a quiet suburban neighborhood, dreaming of a peaceful life with my wife, Lena, and our 2 kids. Our backyard was modest, but I wanted to build a small shed to store tools and create a space for my woodworking hobby. I checked the local zoning laws, confirmed my property was exempt from certain restrictions due to its unique lot designation, and got a permit from the city. Everything was above board, so I thought. Enter Karen, the HOA president, with a clipboard permanently glued to her hand and a knack for sniffing out violations. One sunny afternoon, she marched up my driveway, her heels clicking like a countdown to chaos. "That shed is illegal," she declared, pointing at my half-built structure like it was a crime scene. "It violates HOA rules and zoning codes. Tear it down, or we'll fine you into oblivion." Her smug grin said she'd done this before and always won. I tried reasoning with her, showing my city permit and explaining the exemption. Karen didn't even glance at the papers. "The HOA overrides the city," she snapped, which I knew was nonsense. Within days, I received a cease and desist letter from the HOA's lawyer demanding I demolish the shed or face a $500 daily fine. My blood boiled. This wasn't just about a shed, Anna Maria, it was about Karen's power trip and the HOA's bullying tactics. I wasn't about to roll over. I dug into the HOA's bylaws, cross-referenced them with state laws, and confirmed my exemption held water. The shed met every requirement: size, setback, even aesthetic guidelines. But Karen and her board didn't care about facts. They wanted control. So, I hired a lawyer, Sarah, a sharp woman who'd taken down overzealous HOAs before. "They're bluffing," she said. "Let's call them on it." The HOA doubled down, filing a lawsuit against me for zoning violations and defiance of community standards. They painted me as a rogue homeowner, disrupting the neighborhood's harmony. At the first hearing, Karen sat in the gallery, smirking as her lawyer, a slick guy named Greg, presented doctored photos of my shed, claiming it was twice its actual size. I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just a mistake, it was deliberate. That's when the twist came. Sarah had done her homework and uncovered a bombshell. Karen's own house had an unpermitted deck, built 3 years earlier, violating the very rules she was weaponizing against me. Sarah subpoenaed city records and hired a surveyor, who confirmed the deck was over the property line, encroaching on common HOA land. Suddenly, Karen's crusade against my shed looked like a desperate distraction from her own violations. The courtroom showdown was electric. Sarah dismantled Greg's case piece by piece. She presented my permit, the exemption documents, and expert testimony from a zoning official who confirmed my shed was legal. Then came the knockout punch. Sarah introduced evidence of Karen's illegal deck, projecting photos onto the courtroom screen. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Karen's face went from smug to ghostly white. Greg stammered, clearly unaware of his client's hypocrisy. But Sarah wasn't done. She accused Greg of knowingly submitting falsified evidence, the doctored shed photos. She tracked down the original images on the HOA's private server, proving they'd been altered. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Patel, leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Mr. Gregg, explain this discrepancy," she demanded. He couldn't. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Sarah moved for sanctions against Greg and the HOA for frivolous litigation and unethical conduct. Karen tried to save face, taking the stand to claim she'd misunderstood the rules and was only protecting the community. But Sarah didn't let her off easy. "So, Ms. Whitaker, you enforce rules you don't understand while violating them yourself?" Karen's answers were a mess of contradictions, and the judge's expression said she wasn't buying it. By the end, Karen's authority was in tatters and the HOA's case was crumbling. The fallout was glorious. Judge Patel ruled in my favor, dismissing the lawsuit and affirming my shed's legality. She went further, sanctioning Greg for submitting false evidence, fining him $10,000 and referring him to the state bar for ethics review. The HOA was ordered to pay my legal fees over $25,000 and to amend their bylaws to prevent future overreach. Karen's deck? She was given 30 days to remove it or face fines of her own. Neighbors who'd quietly resented her reign of terror started clapping as the verdict was read. Karen stormed out, her heels clicking faster than ever. But the real victory wasn't just the courtroom win. It was what came after. At the next HOA meeting, emboldened neighbors demanded Karen's resignation. She tried to deflect, blaming miscommunications. But the crowd wasn't having it. A soft-spoken retiree named Mr. Jenkins, who'd never spoken up before, stood and shared his own story. Karen had fined him $1,000 for planting unauthorized roses. One by one, others shared similar tales. By the end, Karen was voted out, replaced by a new president who promised transparency and fairness. As for me, I finished my shed, painted it a bright blue just to rub it in, and invited neighbors over for a barbecue to celebrate. Lena and I sat on our porch that night, watching our kids play, feeling like we'd reclaimed our home. The fight wasn't easy, but it showed me that standing up to bullies, even ones with fancy titles, is always worth it. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have fought the HOA or tried to negotiate with someone like Karen? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear how you'd handle a power-hungry neighbor turned nemesis.